Our society and our electorate is made up of unique individuals, every one of them different, and yet they share many attributes: gender, age, race, religion, economic background, education, political views and social attitudes. Pollsters, therefore, can only ever try to tell us how this might make us all behave in terms of a specific question, but it's only ever going to be a snapshot of wildly interpretable data. That snapshot is simply a moment in time and is always inevitably slightly inaccurate to varying degrees. And what makes political polling even harder is it's like trying to hit a moving target from a moving platform in the dark, wearing a blindfold. And you'd think in this EU referendum the simplicity of the question would help. Should we leave or should we remain? It doesn't. It makes the whole thing much more complicated. The problem is a slew of polls giving very different signals. Given the problems pollsters had getting the general election right, and some of them didn't, this matters. Some have it neck and neck, some remain ahead, others ahead by a lot, and some give it to leave.
Both cannot be right. There can only be one outcome, and it is a minefield in terms of working out which one of those is correct. When I apply different technical methods to my raw data, I can move the remain in lead or the leave lead in both directions. And I don't know which way to jump. And I tell you what, if I don't know, having done all this opinion polling lark for 21 years, I'm not sure who does.
Some of this is down to how the polls are done, how they get a truly representative sample of society in the first place, either by phone or online panels. Which is best is a bone of contention that in recent days has even spilt onto social media, and both have their issues.
The problem is that it's become harder and harder to get representative samples. Online samples are by their nature self-selecting, so have biases to begin with. Phone samples used to be considered far more representative, but in recent years the response rates to phone polls have dropped so low that it's hard now to consider them to be random samples. So both modes have an element of self-selection.
Can I ask you a few questions about yourself?
Would you say you're likely to vote or will definitely vote?
Phone polling's got harder. Few of us use landlines or want to be cold called. Thus, more calls than ever before have to be made just to get a decent sample.
Are you voting leave or remain?
But you do avoid those who, with online polling, have put themselves forward. And phone contact through persistence is better at eventually reaching those who are harder to get hold of.
You're busy now, that's fine. Would it be all right if we call you back later?
There is a growing narrative among some pollsters that phone polling is probably the more accurate, which, given recent phone polling results, should cheer Remainers.
We look at our samples and try and check them to see if we have the right number of people who vote. Do we believe that all the people in our sample who tell us they're going to vote actually will? Are we missing people who really just don't care about the referendum and aren't going to vote? Are we missing the great unwashed who don't have degrees? All of those things. When we make adjustments for all of those things, Remain is still ahead. And we will have to be very, very wrong indeed for Remain at the moment on the polling so far not to win this referendum.
Online pollsters who use panels of signed-up people are perhaps not surprisingly pointing to weaknesses in the phone method. So much so that the online pollsters YouGov have conducted some phone polling about phone polling.
And what we found from that comparison, both to the national picture and to our online polls, was that telephone polls were underestimating the people who are not university educated. And that's hugely important in the EU referendum because we know that that's one of the great social cleavages. In other words, one of the great things that divides the two camps.
So, phone polls are missing potential Leave voters. Online are accused of overstating them. But quite apart from the question, there are two others that are vital. Are you going to vote? Turnout will be crucial on June the 23rd. The higher it is, the more it favours Remain. And what happens when the mass of don't knows make up their mind? With more questions and mixed answers and 4 weeks to go, most pollsters might reasonably fear the result of a poll that asked us all, do pollsters really have a clue what's going on?